Welcome to another episode of Nacoa's Lunchtime Lives, a series of interviews with inspiring people that have helped and supported Nacoa and COAs everywhere, that originally goes out live on our social media platforms, all of which you can find linked in the comments below. In this episode, we speak to the incredible Lizzie Fletcher. We talk about Lizzie's life journey, her experiences with her dad and how that impacted her. Lizzie is incredible with her courage, incredible with her vulnerability. This is an incredible episode that you want to grab the tissues and sit down and watch. There's a great surprise at the end. It all ends in tears of joy and of connection. And there's just so much to take away from this. If you enjoy it, make sure that you have subscribed to our channel, turn on those notifications so you know each and every time a new live comes out, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Hello.
There you are.
Sorry about that. I'm not very good at technology, so it took me a while to figure it out. But I'm here.
Good. I don't know anybody that. Well, I know I'm rubbish with technology as well. So I'm just glad. I'm glad you're here now. Anyway,
Thank you.
How are you doing?
Hot. I'm hot. I'm so hot. Like,
yeah.
I have a towel just in case I get so sweaty. But yeah, I couldn't wear my Nacoa t-shirt because it's just it's ridiculous in my room. So
Yeah.
apart from that, I'm well. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm very hot like you. And originally, I was wearing my vest, and then I thought I thought I'd better wear my Nacoa t-shirt because I've worn it for all the others. But
yeah,
when we're on Instagram like this, you can't see it anyway. So
you should have gone for the vest.
I should have just gone, wow, look, I'm ever the people pleaser, aren't I? I've worn the Nacoa t-shirt. I'm a COA, right? So I've worn the Nacoa t-shirt for all the other interviews, and I thought, oh, everyone will.
You have to stick to tradition. You do.
Yes, exactly. It is tradition. So, for anyone that's not been here before, this is part of the Nacoa Lunchtime Live series where we just sort of interview inspirational people that have supported Nacoa as volunteers and helped COAs in general in the way that you have, Lizzie. And today we've got you here. So why don't we start? Good. No, and genuinely, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to have you here because I've sort of been following your journey, so to speak, as well. So why don't you start by telling us a little bit about who you are, what you're doing in the world today?
Okay, so I'm an actor and a model. That is kind of my passion. And I had to take quite a few years out of that after my dad passed away, because I just emotionally couldn't give myself to that. And, you know, anyone that is creative knows that, you know, when you are being creative, you have to give yourself emotionally. And I just couldn't do that. So I am now a drama coach for teenagers that have been permanently excluded from high school.
Okay.
So it's called a PRU. I don't know if anyone's heard of that. It's a pupil referral unit. And that's in East London. And so I coach them in drama. So that's my full-time job, which is, I absolutely love it. It's the most rewarding job in the world. It can be difficult at times, but it's definitely given my confidence back, and kids they just lift you. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. Which I'm loving, and also just trying to be creative as well, which helps me.
So some of the children that come to you in that space, are they often struggling with different things, right? Is that why they're
massively
ended up in the referral?
Yeah, so a lot of them unfortunately are involved in county lines. I don't know if you're aware of what county lines is. It's basically,
I am.
So it's basically when their young teenagers are groomed by adult gangs, and they're basically sent off to various places around the country to deal drugs. So we have a lot of that. We have a lot of children in care that come to us. We have a lot of, quite a few children are involved in gangs themselves in London. That can be dealing, it can be, we've had some issues with weapons, that's why they come to us. So various of things, but also a lot of social emotional kind of issues that we deal with there as well. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that they're there for.
Probably many children there that could do with finding out about Nacoa, right?
What, massively, yeah,
Yeah.
100%. I was really thinking about actually asking you if you wanted to come and give them a chat, because I think they absolutely love it when out like we get visitors, because they just like to know that people care.
Yeah,
Um
yeah.
so if they can get anyone in that can talk to them passionately about something, like you've got their attention. So I think it would be
Let's do it.
amazing.
Let's do
I'd
it.
love to. I would
Let's
love
make
to
that
do
happen.
that.
Yeah.
I would love to
Genuinely,
do that.
after this, I'll get in touch with you properly, and we'll make it happen. We'll come
Yeah.
and
Okay.
talk about
I would
Nacoa and
love
stuff
that.
like that.
Yeah. I would
Good. Well,
love
what a
that.
way to start. What a way to start. So,
Mm.
why don't talking of Nacoa, right? When did you find Nacoa?
So I was actually thinking about this, and I think it was when my dad was probably at his worst with his cancer.
Hmm.
And I think I remember just sitting in my lounge at home, my family, and my brother was like, "Oh, have you heard of this charity?" And I was like, "No." So I started, Googling it, and just like completely fell in love with their ethos and their work and everything they do. Like when I was younger, I'm sure you probably felt the same. I had no idea that there was a charity like Nacoa out there. And if I'd have
Mm.
known, I think it would have helped me a lot growing up. So I think I probably found it in about 6 years ago, I think,
Yeah.
5 or 6 years ago. And then from then on, I was like, okay, I want to just get involved in any way that I can, because it's just such an amazing charity.
Yeah.
When did you first find Nacoa?
Well, I was going to say, I think I've been with Nacoa for about 5 years, right?
Okay.
I probably could be corrected if I'm wrong, but I was going to say ever since I've ever sort of been online doing the social media stuff and all of that kind of stuff, I don't remember sort of your name not being in the ecosystem. So I did assume that you'd been
Oh,
part of the tribe, should I say, for
yeah,
for
that's
for,
really
for that amount of
sweet.
time. And I do think that's one of the things that Nakoa does in an amazing way is creates a tribe that you can really feel a part
Yeah.
of, even just by literally like liking a post or commenting on a post, right? Something as small as that. Nakoa has such a way of humanizing it and making you feel like you're part of something when you're involved, right?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I couldn't agree more. I think like when the more you get involved, the more kind of loved and kind of, I don't know, like cherished you feel by them.
Mm,
Even like in emails, they're so personalized. And I remember when I first sent out an email to them about my situation with my dad, and I got back like this huge personalized email that was just like amazing.
mm.
And I think, from a lot of other charities, it, the help is there, but I think with Narcoa, like it just feels so personable. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, I do 100%, and it is so personable, like because, and I think in some ways it's almost been to the detriment of Nakoa's growth
Mm,
because Nakoa has always like when you do any kind of volunteering with them, the helpline and the people that need the helpline are the main focus. And
mm-hmm.
if anything else that we'd like or need to do is gonna in some way be at the detriment of the helpline, then it doesn't get done because the helpline is the focus. And I do think in a
Yeah,
lot of ways, like in some ways, it kind of it slowed the kind of reach of Nacoa in a way, which was the right thing, and is why Nacoa is the charity that it is, and is why, by
yeah,
the way, is why that all the other charities now are sort of looking to Nacoa to understand, the way to be. I wanted to,
yeah.
if we can, you've mentioned your dad a couple of times, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of alluded a couple of times to the fact that Nakoa was important to you because of your experiences with your dad. I just wonder if you felt comfortable if in sharing kind of what those
Yeah,
experiences are,
of
what you're
course.
alluding to. Yeah.
Yeah. So for as long as I can remember, my dad was alcohol dependent. And I think my first memory of him drinking was probably, oof, God, maybe when I was like 5 or 6. but
Mm.
I didn't really understand the level of it. I think you don't really understand drinking until you turn around like 10 or 12.
Mm.
And that's when I think I probably understood the severity of it. You know, I would get my parents separated when I was 5 due to my dad's kind of issues. Um, and um, and yeah, and I think, you know, he used to call me. My mum would hand me the phone, and his voice would just be like not right, or he would be shouting, and I would pass the phone back and be like, "Mum, he's not okay today."
Mm.
That was kind of like my first memory of it. And I would go to his house with my mum and my brother, and he just wouldn't be right. And I think from that age, I was always like, I want to protect him. Like, I want
Mm.
to, something's not right, but I want to protect him because he doesn't seem okay, as children do. And then, you know, throughout me growing up, through school, you know, he went in and out of sobriety. He went to rehab a couple of times. It didn't work out. And it was just kind of like on and off all the time throughout my whole childhood until I turned around 16, and he
Mm.
had probably one of the most severe relapses he's ever had.
Mm.
And I remember going to work at a restaurant and then giving him money because I thought he needed it for bread and milk, when actually he needed it to, you know, to buy alcohol. And one day he rang me and he was in severe pain, and I was like, this doesn't seem right. And it actually turned out I had to take him to hospital. And then it turned out they had pancreatitis. And if he drank any more, then, you know, he wouldn't be alive. And from that moment of him actually nearly experiencing death, he became sober for 4 years, which
Wow.
was the best 4 years of our relationship.
Mm.
We became me and my dad had always been really close despite his alcoholism. You know, he was really present in my life, and he was always really loving, and I cannot fault him on that. But those 4 years were just, you know, bliss. And then in 2015 he was diagnosed with throat cancer,
Wow.
which was just like, you know, just the worst time. You know, we'd had such a great time together, and then that, and I actually got told that like 5 minutes before I had to go on stage at my
Wow.
drama school. And I performed. Wasn't very good, but I still performed. And then from then on, he went through chemo, through radiotherapy, and we got the all clear in Christmas 2015, which was the best news.
Mm.
And he was really strong. He was so mentally strong. I was so proud of him. And then in February 2016, we got the news that it had come back,
Wow.
and it came back in his throat, but also in his lungs. And that was just too much for him. Mentally, he just couldn't. You know, he'd done it once, and as a man with, you know, mental health issues, with you know, addiction problems, like it was just too much for him, and
Mm.
he didn't want to do any more chemo. And sadly, his mental health just went downhill. You know, he started drinking again, which was probably that was probably more difficult for me than his actual cancer.
Mm.
Because, you know, I'd seen him be so strong, and then I'd watched him kind of just digress again and again and again. And so yeah, he went back to drinking, to prescribed medication, to paracetamol, sleeping pills, you know. And then sadly he lost his battle in August 2016. So
Okay.
yeah, that's kind of
The overview.
in a quick overview, that's kind of, yeah, the story
Of
of
course,
our,
of
yeah.
course. And listen, it never ceases to amaze me how emotional I can feel when I'm listening to somebody else speak about it. Right? I think
Yeah,
as COAs, we find a way to kind of almost detach ourselves from what we're saying, right? So we have this kind of ability to be able to communicate some of the experiences that happen. But some of the things that you've spoke about, that if we can, I wouldn't mind kind of picking
of
up on.
course, yeah.
When you were young and he split up with your mum, and you noticed that subtle change in his voice on the phone.
Mm.
Did you ever get the opportunity to speak to anyone about that? Did anybody ever give you the opportunity to kind of validate that you're concerned with it?
No, not until I turned 14. Not until high school. Not
Wow.
in, you know, not in like, not until like halfway through high school, really. I mean, I had my friends, but none of them had the same, you know, the same situation or the same experiences. So it was like, you know, you would experience something and then you just sit on it, you
Yeah.
know. And my mum is so supportive, and she always has been, and she really wanted me to have that relationship with my dad. And I think
Mm.
that's probably why we didn't talk about it enough,
Mm.
because it was difficult for her to talk about it. You know, she'd gone through so much, and she wanted to protect me so much, and I thank her for that. But no, I didn't have anyone to talk to.
And of course, and this is the thing with the family struggle, right? When it's a family struggle, of course, your mum was right up against it as well, right? And she's, you know, I'd imagine is getting no support herself in what's the best way to tackle this. And I remember my mum being such, you know, my mum's such an amazing person. She never wanted me to spend too much time with the bad stuff that was going on with my dad.
Yeah.
And so she would, but that kind of did take away the opportunity to explore some of the things that I needed to explore.
Yeah.
And that was my mum trying to protect me, right? And so I really resonate with that, not having anybody to speak to about it, right? And it almost being, people talk about the elephant in the room, right?
Yeah.
And so until you went to high school, you must have felt literally like you were the only person on the planet who was struggling with this kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I had my brother, and my God, I don't think, you know, I know it's quite a broad statement, but I honestly don't think that me and him would be alive if we didn't have each other, because he is my absolute rock, my brother.
Yeah.
So, you know, having a sibling to go through something with, and also being so close, saved me massively.
Yeah.
And the level of friendships that I had and the closeness that I had with friends, absolutely saved me. If I didn't have that, then, you know, I don't know what I would have done. And I was lucky enough at high school, you know, when you go into high school, teachers start to kind of notice behaviors a bit more, and it becomes a bit more about child protection. And you know, teenagers tend to show changes in their moods a bit more. So when I had a form tutor at school, and I would come in the morning after a night of my dad calling me drunk, you know, me hanging up, not sleeping, and then I'd go to school and he'd be like, "You're not okay today, can you just stay behind for a second?" And we, you know, we had this amazing relationship, me and my form tutor. And again, if I didn't have him, you know, I don't know what I would have done, because until that person looked at me and said, "You're not okay, I need to speak to you," I just don't think I would have said anything.
Yeah. And you make such an important point here, right? And I think there's such a big learning out of what you've just said there. If you look at the poster campaign that Kerry's just helped put together for Nacoa, right? There's almost creating that conversation that your teacher created within you, right? And the impact that had in your teacher, just creating a space to kind of validate that you're not okay, you are struggling. This, you know, there is something going on here. That is literally what the Nacoa helpline it does, right? That is the sole function of it, to give people like the child that you were that kind of opportunity to validate them struggles. Did you ever tell any of your friends about your dad?
Only my best friend, who's still my best friend today, who again is my rock, but only her. Apart from her, I made an effort to kind of make sure everyone knew that my dad was like the best person, or that I thought he was the best person and that he'd done all these things. So I think I was almost trying to validate that and make myself feel that he was a normal father and everything was fine. But she was the only person that knew really everything. Yeah.
Because I remember as a child, I remember like, my dad died when I was 9, so he had sort of died by the time I got to a teenager. But
So difficult.
I even remember going over friends' houses, and I'd be in like the kitchen, and the parents would be talking. Oh, so do you live with your mum? And then I'd start going, oh my God, they're going to ask me about dad. They're going to ask me about my dad, right? And
Mm.
I'd be tell him cancer this time. Just tell him he died and he died of cancer. Do you know what I mean? Because you get this kind of, it all becomes this big secret, and you want to, more than anything else, you want to protect them, don't you?
Of course.
You want people to know the parent that you knew behind what happened.
Yeah, totally. It's such a strange thing, isn't it? Like even as like you said, a 9-year-old, like you're already thinking that in your head, like I need to protect this person. But it's like it's just so complex, isn't it? Like even at that young age, your sole kind of purpose in that situation is to be like, no, I need to protect him, and
Yeah,
I need to not talk about the actual reality of it. It's
yeah,
just such a strange thing that in this country we shame alcoholism, and
mm,
we don't speak about it and we don't normalize it, which is
mm,
what Nacoa is amazing for, is and helps me normalize it a lot, I
yeah.
think.
And look, I think these kind of conversations are actually the route into changing the narrative with society, right?
Oh
Because
yeah.
when you start, I think people struggle when they see, let's say, if they see a man talking, or man or a woman, a parent talking about their drinking problems, there's this tendency to think, well, I would stop for my kids, so you need to just stop. But
Yeah.
when you start to hear somebody's story like yours, yeah, where there's it's much easier to find some compassion then, and you can talk in a loving way about the man that your dad was. You can talk about the good side of it,
Mm.
free from the acknowledgement of the other stuff as well. And I just want to mention, I am seeing questions coming in, but we're having such a good conversation at the moment. I am picking them up and making a note of them, so I am going to fire some of them at you.
Is that
Um,
Sandra? Sorry, I just want to say hi to Sandra. She's amazing. Hi, Sandra.
is this Sandra here, the recovery coach?
Yes, it is. She's
All right.
amazing.
Oh, okay.
She's
Hello,
amazing.
hello, Sandra. You are amazing. Um, so, so you got to your teenage years, and do you feel like, did you start speaking more? Because you said it was when you got to your teenage years that you started to kind of realize some change, right?
Yeah, I think I don't. I mean, I I obviously experienced my dad's really bad relapse when I was 16, and
Mm,
my brother wasn't actually there. He was at university, so that was really hard, and I didn't talk about it really. I mean, like I didn't. My mum didn't even know where I went. I got in the car with my boyfriend at the time, and we went to his house, and then I kind of did like the 2 weeks after that just really hazy, as when you go through trauma, your body and your mind do really weird things, and I think my body and my mind just kind of went, no, we need to block whatever happened out. And so I didn't. I even thinking about it now, it's still hazy.
mm,
So from that age, I definitely suppressed it again,
yeah.
just after like experiencing that second dose of trauma. It's like, you know I just didn't talk about it. And then I went to drama school, and we had to do a lot of kind of self exploration, and we were kind of expected to just deal with it.
Mm,
We did have support that was offered, and I did use it. But we had to kind of talk about our past, and I
mm,
found that really difficult because not many people had experience, having an alcoholic parent. So again, I was put into that place where I have to talk about it, but I didn't really have anyone else to relate to in that sense.
mm,
So until now, I don't think I've ever really just kind of sat with it,
mm,
and really just spoken to people that have been through similar things until now.
yeah.
Um, and that could be for various reasons. Maybe I wasn't ready at the time until now, or I just didn't have the resources around me.
Yeah. And I do think when you interact with people that don't understand, right, with the awareness has been so poor around what it's like for a child to grow up. Did you find when you did start talking to people, people get a little bit like, what did he hurt you then? And you're
Yeah.
like, no, he never laid a finger on me.
Yeah.
What did he used to get really angry with you then? Well, maybe sometimes when he was drunk, but not all of the time. But
Mm.
did what, you never got to see him? No, I saw him sort of every weekend. And then
Yeah.
they get a bit like, well, people have got it a lot worse than that. Some people don't get to have a dad at all, right?
Yeah.
And then you get to this place where you feel like you know you're not validated in your struggle, and so I think that, you know, society plays a part in sort of making us push it down and bury it more. Did
100%.
you have that experience? Yeah.
100%. 100%. It was like, you know, do you actually want to bring it up because are people going to understand it, you know, or are you going to spend most of the time, it's the same as grief, talking to someone about, so it's like talking to someone about someone dying, you have to make that person feel comfortable in the situation for them to then be like, okay, all right, now I can ask questions about it. And I feel like,
Yeah.
you know, talking about alcoholism is exactly the same thing. You have to make, unless that person is very open or they've experienced, you have to make them feel comfortable for you to then, you know, go more in depth,
Yeah.
because it's such a taboo subject, and that's
Yeah.
why.
And people don't have open conversations about it, right? And because as a society we all tend to have a little bit of a difficult relationship with alcohol, I think. So people
Yeah.
just, it's a conversation people would rather avoid, right? So did you drink alcohol? Is alcohol, do you know, and I know you've done some stuff for Nacoa, which we're hopefully going to come on to as well, but somebody has asked previously, did it affect your relationship with alcohol? Did it make you scared when you first started drinking it? Were you
Yeah.
hyper vigilant to the way that you do and stuff like that?
Oh, massively. I think when I was younger, I had such a different outlook. I was so against smoking because my dad used to smoke about 20 a day or 40 a day.
Yeah.
So I was like, no, never going to smoke a cigarette. And, you know, drinking, I definitely had quite a normal, you know, teenage relationship with it, which is, you know, you go out with your friends or you drink in a field like I did in the countryside. And, you know, at uni, I was fine, really. It wasn't until after my dad passed away that I started to become quite aware of drinking. I don't have a drinking issue, I know that, but as a child of an alcoholic, I don't know if, you know, you feel the same, but you become like so hyper aware every time you drink. For me, if I feel like I'm getting a little bit too drunk, I'll automatically be like, stop myself and be like, you know, no, like this is not comfortable. Or the next day I tend to have like a little, you know, quite a bit of guilt, or I'll question myself and think, am I an alcoholic? Like, do I drink too much? And that happens more now I'm older than it did when I was younger. And it's something that I'm still dealing with. I'm still on my journey with my relationship with alcohol,
Yeah.
definitely.
And I think that's what needs to change. People need to start talking about a relationship with alcohol, right? Because for me, we make it this binary thing, right? And so we don't have proper conversations. I used to say to people, my drinking's getting bad. And they go, do you drink every morning? I say, no, not every single
Yeah.
morning. All right, cool. You're all right then. You ever drank at
Yeah.
work? Ever drank at work? Not yet. No. Ah, you're fine then, yeah? Whereas, actually, I think if we could talk about it much more in a sense of a relationship, right?
Yeah.
Which is where we say, how is your relationship? If you look at any, like a loving relationship, if you're at somebody's marriage or somebody's like loving relationship, if you know, if I said to you, "Call you know, my marriage is struggling a little bit," you wouldn't just go, right, you've got to give it up then. If it's a problem,
Yeah.
give it up, right?
Yeah.
You'd
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
well, let's have a look, see what the relationship's like. Is there some things that we can do to repair? But we do this thing where we stigmatize having a problem with alcohol. So
Yeah.
then the conversation all just becomes about convincing myself that I don't have a problem, when
Yeah.
actually we all have a relationship with it. Even me, I haven't drank for 8 years, but I still have a relationship with alcohol, right? I go through periods where I might hate it and I don't want it anywhere near me, or periods where I miss it or whatever. Yeah, there's always a relationship there, and I think we could do
I
much
agree.
better in that sense. But you recently, was it July? You did the sponsored?
Yeah, it was, because I did it. I decided that I would do it from Father's Day, so it was June. So so Father's Day until my dad's birthday, which is July the 19th. And I just decided I did it in 2018 as well, to raise money. And I sometimes just like to take a break from it, because, you know, I get a sense of clarity. I'm able to just take a step back and think about my own relationship with it. And also, you know, my dad as well. And also just physically, I think sometimes it's nice to just not drink.
Yeah.
And so I did it June to July. And since then I'm just trying to drink less, for like physically, for working out, and just being healthier anyway. And I'm trying to make sure that in my head I'm not being like, okay, you've stopped drinking, why have you stopped drinking, like, is it because you think you might have an issue? And I'm like, no, it's because I'm stopping because I want to be healthy. And I just keep having to remind myself that that is the reason, not because I in my head think I have an issue with it. Which is just, it's like it's a relationship, and it's something that I know might change. You know, I might decide suddenly to go completely sober, which I think is always going to be there. Like, maybe I will, but I like to drink. You know, it's fun. You know, like I like alcohol. It's just understanding that, you know, just because my dad had an issue does not mean I will have an issue.
Yeah, exactly. And look, I always say my dad's issue wasn't alcohol. My dad used alcohol to try and deal with his issues, right?
Yeah, same.
So it's not that alcohol was the problem, it was the way in which he misused it, right? And so, you know, I always say my relationship with alcohol in the end became so toxic, I had to end it and move on, right? And it was a relationship I don't think I'll ever be able to rekindle, right? But when you talk about it in that sense, it makes it much easier. And because it remains the only drug on the planet that you have to like justify not doing.
Yeah.
Right.
It's so true.
If I told you I don't do, I don't know, heroin, you wouldn't be like, oh no, why? You'd be like, that's good you don't do heroin. Yeah. But if I say, oh, I don't drink alcohol, people go, oh no, what happened? Right.
Yeah. They're like, ooh.
Are you all right? Yeah. You could have one. Surely you could have one.
Yeah. Go on. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's that kind of stuff. You've done some like blogging with it as well, right? Which I thought was pretty incredible.
Thank you.
Did that open many conversations to you? Did you get people speaking to you about it?
Yeah, it did actually. It made me realize that I actually know, you know, more people that have had the same experience that I already knew, that just hadn't brought it up. Or, I mean, to be fair, it's not really a conversation starter, is it? You know, but it opened up a lot of conversations, and also was just so nice for people to be like, wow, you know, and it's a part of me, and it's a part of me that I haven't always been open about, and it makes me relax a lot more, being so much more open about it. So yeah, it opened a lot more kind of avenues for me. And I spoke to Recovery Hour on, I think it was Monday, and that was just amazing, because I have never spoken to people that have had similar experiences as my dad. I've never spoken to people that have been alcoholics or are alcoholics, people that are in recovery. So for me, that was amazing, to be able to kind of actually speak to people and ask them questions, and also talk to them about what it's like being a child of an alcoholic, because a lot of them have children. So, you know, for them to hear it from the other side, where they might not feel strong enough to talk to their children about it yet, was, I mean, it's one of the best conversations I've had as of yet to do with alcohol. And I wouldn't have had that conversation until now. Of course. Yeah.
It must have been really powerful to have the opportunity. And I think it's incredible when anybody, you know, uses difficult experiences that they've had to try and change things for other people. I want to quickly, because I want to throw it out and actually ask people to send in questions now. So everyone's just watching, put questions in, and then I can put them to you as they come in.
Amazing.
We'll make an actual space for that. But in that period of of 4 years
Yeah.
when your dad was sober, you said it was like the best time that you ever had with him.
Yeah.
Did you ever get free from the fear that he might go back?
Do you know what? I think I really did. I
Yeah.
mean, there were times when I remember actually, there were times when my brother was like, because my dad knew how much my dad did speak to my brother about his alcoholism a lot.
Mm.
But I think I'm very kind of strong-willed, and I act on things very quickly. So I think my dad was always, he spoke to me a lot about these things because I was quite fearless about asking him questions, and I always was.
Mm.
Um, but when I think if he told me, oh, I'm thinking about drinking again, he knew that I would be like, take that step back and be like, whoa. And we'd go into that conversation. But so I remember him telling my brother, oh, it's a really nice day today. I could really do with a cider.
Mm.
And my brother told me that, and I was like, whoa. I was like, I was a teenager, and for me, even that sentence holds so much. And I think that's probably why he told my brother, because it was a throwaway sentence. It was a
Yeah.
throwaway sentence. He would never have done it. But I think him telling me that, it would have held so much more.
Mm.
So apart from that, I mean, I honestly, truly felt like he was done, and I know that he was. 4 years for my dad was like,
Mm.
that's like a big time. That's a long time to be
Yeah.
sober.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know I did. I really, and that's why I think our relationship was able to go to a next level, because I was able to kind of finally take my place as being just a daughter. I'm not a carer. I'm not someone that is constantly putting their parent in front of their own needs, you know? And
Wow.
I think that's why those 4 years were just so much, not better, but they allowed us to kind of have that relationship that we might not have had before then, I think.
Yeah, you said you got to be a daughter instead of a carer. That's like, I don't think people understand that. They don't understand, people that haven't experienced it, they don't understand the scope of what it is to become uh an emotional carer or an emotional
No,
parent for your parent. It's such
it's huge. It's
a
huge.
burden. It's such a burden to bear in terms of everything, when you were a young girl and eventually a young teenager, you're supposed to be a daughter. You're supposed to be able to do
Yeah,
whatever the hell you want. And, it should be every child's right, really, to go back to a household where your mum and dad are fully available to love you
right.
wholeheartedly. And yet you had to, and obviously I resonate with this, you had to
Mm.
spend your whole childhood thinking about them and what it meant to them.
Yeah, and it's like you put their emotional strength before your own,
Yeah.
always, because you don't want to do anything ever to make them feel a certain way, a
Mm.
certain negative way, because that could spark, a negative feeling could spark them maybe turning to have a drink. And
Yeah.
so you spend like every day of your life being the best like son or daughter that you can, until you feel comfortable knowing that they're never going to drink again, you know?
Yeah, you're literally, rather than being yourself, you are literally being what you think they need you to be in order
Yeah,
for them to not. And look, we could take all that further. That goes into our
I know.
adulthood then,
I
and it
know, I
conditions
know.
us, right? And we start getting in relationships where
Yeah,
where we feel like we need to be something in order to be loved, and rather than presenting our true feelings, we look for what people think we want us to be, and we become that, right?
yeah.
And it's a lifetime of healing from that, right? So we've got
Oh, mate, long time.
a lot. Yeah,
Still
I'm
there.
still in the. If there's a finish line, I can't see it. So Beth has said, "Are you angry towards your parents over the periods where they were drinking?" So in your case, it was your daddy. Do you feel angry towards him in any way?
Um, at the time, yeah, like, it was definitely painful. And, you know, as a child, you go through so many questions in your head. It's like, why are they drinking? Why are they not here for me? You know, is it my fault? Why can't they be like other dads? Like, why can't they be here for me? And so you go through so many emotions. You go through anger, you go through, you know, sadness. You know, so yeah, at the time, it made me really angry. And I think, you know, and I think I struggled with anger, but never with my dad. I always took it back home to my mum, because dad, in my head, dad could never deal with that anger. So I took it home, and, you know, and I took it out on my mum and my stepdad and my brother.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't until I turned 18 that I had to turn around to my mum and be like, I am so sorry for being, you know, so horrible to you, you know, when I was growing up, because she, you know, because she was, in my head, she was the stronger parent. So I took it out on her, because in my head, I thought she could handle it. Whereas the anger that I felt towards my dad, I never really, until I turned 16, you know, showed him that. I was very firm with him. But I never really like went in on him until I was 16 and he had a relapse and he was drunk in front of me, you know?
And then it came out, and then it all came out. Yeah.
Yeah. So my
Go on.
stepsister has just said, you were an all right stepsister. Thank you.
You're an all right stepsister. But no, for me, that the anger piece is massive, because we have a lot of people think if you're angry with somebody, it means you love them any less or something like that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I found Nacoa. I was at Nacoa with Hillary, the CEO of Nacoa, and we were talking, I don't know how, about being angry about your alcoholic parents. And I said, oh no, I don't think I've ever felt angry about it. And then I looked at Hillary and I saw her eyes catch mine, and straight away I thought, well, that ain't right. I should have been angry, right? And then I went on a journey of like releasing that anger. And it's because, like you, when I was younger, I didn't want to burden my parents with the fact that I was angry, right? And I felt like I should be grateful that they're there, or what, you know, all that kind of stuff. What were your emotions over festive periods? As that's when society always concentrates on family time more, and it's the time more people drink. Great question.
Oof. Yeah. Difficult. Christmas was just hard. I always used to have Christmas at my mum and my stepdad's house, which is where I lived, which was very safe, very consistent. So, you know, we never really had Christmas at my dad's house. And one year we went there, and he was just, I think he was drinking. He was just he was just a mess. Like, he just couldn't, because he was so overwhelmed that we were both there for Christmas and it was so different. But for him, it was like, you know, he would think about when we were a family, when it was me, my mum, and me and my brother and him. You know, so I knew that Christmas was difficult for him, and that made it difficult for me. Knowing that he was so emotional about it just naturally made me emotional, because you have that relationship with them where you know how they feel all the time.
This is it with children. This is why I say you don't need these big traumatic events, right? As a child, if you sense that your parent is struggling, you will sense it. And the problem is, as children, we try to adapt to try and stop them feeling it when we feel it, right? And then so it feeds into everything. And some of the biggest traumas that we experience as children of alcoholics in this sense is the behaviors and the emotions and everything that goes with it, right? More so than the traumatic experiences that people look for. Someone's asked, do you feel more able to speak now after your dad's passing? Me and my sister have only really started talking about our true feelings since we lost both parents. No longer need to protect them.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I did speak about my dad before, but not in the same way, because I always felt guilty. I still feel guilty now. Like, even talking about it now, I still have that, like, this little thing in the back of my head that's like, oof, like, you know. But now it is a lot easier. It definitely is, because I'm healing. You know, like, I'm grieving. I've been grieving my dad since he passed away. But with that, I've also been dealing with the trauma that I never dealt with because I was too busy worrying about him or caring for him, or focusing on working on our relationship and building that. So until he passed away, I don't think I was able to fully kind of just actually take it for what it was.
Yeah, and that's definitely true for me. I wouldn't be able to do the things that I'm doing if my dad wasn't gone. I think it feels like betrayal. I remember when I first ever started publicly speaking about this stuff, I would get huge pangs of guilt and betrayal, and like that voice in my head would say, "You're making it way worse. Why are you making him out to be horrible? He wasn't that bad." And I would feel that I needed to come back out and go, my dad wasn't a bad man. He just had a problem, right? These are just the bad effects of what it was. But actually, the more that I've talked about it, and I think, you know, when you're good at speaking about it and you're a compassionate and empathetic person in the way that you are as well, it doesn't come across to anybody that listens to it that you're sort of hammering your dad, right? No. It's quite the opposite. You're talking about it with a lot of compassion. So I think that's really important.
Yeah.
Beth has said, I'm so angry now as I look back. I'm still dealing with two alcoholic parents in my late 20s. I don't feel any love towards them at all. It's all anger over what they've put us through. Yeah, that's powerful, and it is hard. And I think that the fact that you're conscious of that, for me, means, Beth, that you're already on that journey, because because it's the denial, right? And it's that I'm fine, that I had a perfect childhood, don't worry about it all. I think that's the stuff when you're not on the journey yet. The person who asked the Loungefly, who asked the question about Christmas, says, watching my mum get drunk on Christmas Day was cooking the dinner was hard to stomach. Yeah. And then he says, he or she, Loungefly addicts, I don't know if it's male or female, do you think it's selfish to cut off an alcoholic parent and focus on yourself and your own family?
No.
I love that you gave the answer just so clearly like that. No.
Not at all.
At some point in your life, you have to put yourself and your own well-being first. And I think that's just of huge importance. And I always say, you know, if my dad was still here now, I don't know if I could have him in my life in the way that he was.
Yeah. I think it's brave. It's brave to, like, even, you know, because I never could get to that point where I was like, I'm going to put myself first. You know, I was young. I didn't have my own family, but I still found it hard to even put myself first. So to even have that feeling of like, no, I want my family do come first, and you do come first. So I don't think, no, I wouldn't feel any.
It's not selfish at all. And I've just realised that Loungefly Addicts is Pete. Sorry, mate. I knew that, Pete. I knew that was your other account as well. As soon as you said, I was like, oh, I would have known if he was on your other account. Jojo says, does your brother feel different to you?
Do you know what? I mean, we talk about my dad's. We do talk about it, you know. And sometimes we'll have like, I'll be at home and I'll have like an epiphany. I'll be like, I need to ring my brother and see if he feels the same. So I'll call him, and we'll both be like, whoa, that's why we're like that, or like that's why we have that feeling. So, you know, we do feel the same way, definitely. I just think that I'm maybe a bit more, I don't know, my brother is vocal, he is. Maybe I am just a bit more vocal about it. But we definitely have similarities, 100%. I mean, he's affected differently in me. I mean, we're both very different people, even though we have similarities. You know, we deal with things differently, me and my brother. But in our behavior and how we've been affected, we definitely have similarities from that, I think.
I would say me, and just to quickly answer the question separately for myself, me and my two brothers, so I've got two brothers that grew up with my dad, we have three completely different experiences. So my younger brother will tell you, will tell you a completely different experience of life than I will, and my older brother will tell you a completely different experience of than mine. And all three of us have evolved in different ways.
So interesting.
If you have a look at the family roles that happen within any kind of dysfunctional family setting, I haven't got time to talk about it now, but we all take on different roles, from sort of the carer, golden child, to the lost child, to to the clown slash mascot, which is what I was. My job was to make everyone in the family happy. So you do have you do tend to have different experiences, yeah. Dave versus Universe has said, "Are your family supportive of you talking about it publicly? My family always shamed me for speaking outside the family circle, and it was swept under the carpet, not spoke out loud."
That's hard. But yeah, that's difficult. I'm sorry that you're in that situation. That is hard.
I think that's the situation for a lot of families, by the way. Your mum's not quite very supportive of you, isn't she?
She's so supportive. Yeah, she really is. She's just always supportive of anything I do. So I'm so thankful that I have that, you know.
Yeah.
I'm very lucky to have a really great support system at home.
Yeah, and I do think in some ways, and my family are supportive of me as well, in it. But I do think actually we are exceptions to the rule. And I only knew, by the way, I only know that your mum's supportive because you put this on Facebook this morning and she commented, didn't she?
Yes, she did.
Right? And I only know it was your mum because you said "love your mama" or something afterwards. And I thought, oh, that's nice that you've got that kind of.
She's great. She's amazing.
Support.
She really is. But you know, it's just it makes you look at your own family and realize how lucky you are, because I can't imagine, you know, dealing with my own trauma and not being able to express myself in the way that would help me, you know. So I am thankful, because not be in this situation I would find really difficult.
Yeah, that support, yeah, it's definitely something to be grateful for. Sian said that putting herself first is so difficult when her dad has no one else. He's pushed everyone else away. And again, I think that feeds into what we were saying about why it's not selfish. It takes so much courage to, you know, I feel like you, Lizzie, with the relationship you had with your dad, you were almost you talked loads about it, his carer as well. So if he was still here now, and God forbid in those kind of situations, you would have that constant pull of I'm supposed to be supporting, right?
Yeah, it's definitely not a role that we're told to do. It's just something that we naturally take on because we love our parents so much. And to see them in pain is not what we want. And so as children and as teenagers and adults of, you know, and being adults, you just naturally don't want to see your parents in pain. So you want to change that.
Yeah, and Jojo, just to pick up, Jojo asked the question about your brothers. She said she agrees her brothers hated her dad and her sisters felt for him, and Jojo was the one that helped her. And then your mum is actually mum is in the building. Mama Kate is in the building.
Oh, mum, that's so sweet. I can't.
Wow. And she's called you her beautiful, brave girl.
Wow.
How does that, Lizzie? How does that feel?
Emotional. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, emotional.
Yeah.
She's very special to me. Yeah.
I'm gonna cry. which I think this is kind of a nice way to. I'm genuinely crying. It's mixing in with all the sweat on my face, so I'm all right.
I know, same.
I think that's a nice way to kind of draw things to a close.
Yeah.
I hope you've enjoyed this experience.
I've loved
Lizzie.
it. I really have. It's just so nice to talk, you know. It really is. Talking is just the best medicine.
Yeah. Pete's crying as well.
Oh no.
And genuinely, I want to say this because I think this is really, really important. What you've just done for the last hour, right? To allow yourself the vulnerability, to allow yourself to present yourself in the way that you have, the ripple effects of that, you do not underestimate how many people will watch this, not just live, but will watch it back, and the lives that will affect, right?
Thank you. That's so sweet.
I promise you, you make sure you spend time with that, because it's really powerful that you've allowed yourself to do this, and it will literally impact people's lives in a way that you probably won't be aware of yet. So I want to say that I really appreciate you. For everyone that's watching, this will go straight on Nacoa's Instagram, so it'll be on their grid, and then the lovely peers will get it edited up as well, so it will be on YouTube fairly soon.
Amazing.
There's lots of love coming in for you right now, and everything that you've done.
It's been a pleasure. Honestly, I would do it again in a heartbeat. It's just we just need to keep talking, you know, and this what helps for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. And as a return of the favor for what you've done, I will come to your place of work. So let's set that up.
Please, we
We'll
will.
come and I'll speak to them, and we'll do it. We'll
That'd
make
be
it happen.
amazing.
Anything else that you'd like to say before I wrap up? Because it will kick us out in a minute.
Just thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure. Just to have, you know, a safe conversation about it all. It's nice, you know, and I'm just going to go and sit in the sun and sit with it. And yeah, it's just been a pleasure. Thank you as well for being so open and allowing me to be like that as well.
My pleasure. This session's been all you. Well, all you, and I'm going to call her Mama Kate, which is the phrase that I've coined here. So I'm grateful to you. I'm grateful to your stepsister as well for letting us know that you've been an all right sister, to be fair. And big love to everyone that's been here. And until next time, I'll wrap this up.
Amazing.
Thanks again, Lizzie.
All the love.